There is a fact that most of us try to run away from. That one day you'll be old. If you are working, you retire from that work, and that means you no longer have that income that you earn on a daily basis. If you are in business, one day you'll be old enough that you will not be able to wake up early as you do and go and do that business. Your economic activities will slow down, and your source of income also will reduce. The fact is that mostly your expenses will remain the same or even go higher. So what do you do now so that you prepare on that day? Because your source of income will go down, but your expenses will remain the same. How will you be able to foot your bills? Have you prepared for that day? That's why we prepared this video on planning for your retirement or for your old age. Because as it's said by Swahili, maisha ya kesho hupangwa leo. For you to be able to do this, you must be able to make the right decision or balance between these three things. That is consumption or your expenses, your savings, and your investments from the income that you are making now. And that means if you are able to balance between these three, as you can see, they are on a beam balance, you will be able to achieve your financial independence, and on that day you will never be an economic burden to anyone. I'll divide the human life financial phases into three. There is what we call the middle phase, which is the most important part of it. There is the lower phase, and also there is the upper phase. So starting with the lower phase, that is between 0 to 30, this basically is mostly made of financial dependent person. Most of the time they don't have a source of income, so they are depending on others to achieve the economic goals. They have low economic activities. Most of these people are maybe finishing college, not employed. If they have started the business, it has not reached what we call the break-even point to start earning enough profits. In terms of health, they are active and very healthy. Then you have the most important phase, that is the middle phase, between the age of 30 to 65. This mostly is made of people who are very, very active in terms of economic activities. So some of them are employed, making good money. Others are in business. The business have got roots and they are making very, very good profits. So we expect them to have at least a higher level of income. As they have a higher level of income, coincidentally, they also have high consumption, or their level of spending also goes up. This is basically because their needs will go up and also their wants. At this point, it's good to be able to differentiate between needs and wants. Needs is what you can live without. You can't live, is what you can't live without. Wants you can do without, but they are necessary part of the life. So at a point when you look at your income and you want to be able to allocate this income between these three, consumption, savings, and investments, we'll be having a video later to be able to differentiate more between consumption, savings, and investment, and how you are able to allocate your salary to be able to to fulfill the three. So make sure you subscribe to our channel, share us further to be able to get this financial literacy, so that it can be of much help unto them. So in terms of health, they are healthy. They don't spend so much on economic health. I say this is an age where you have financial muscles, because you're able to make profit from your business. Others are able to invest even in multiple businesses and still employment and make more money. And most importantly of all, we are able to use this chance to be able to acquire what we call a loan facility from the bank. We are credit worth at this point, and being credit worth, we can be able to acquire a loan so that we can invest either in business or in assets building. Later on we'll have also another video that will be able to explain more the difference between savings and loan towards building your financial independence, especially when you want to achieve long-term financial goals. So keep up in this channel by subscribing so that we can be able to discuss more on that. So I'll say that this is the age you are supposed to build your financial independence, because you have income, you have financial muscles. It's the right time to make the right decisions so that you'll not regret or you'll not become a financial burden at the upper phase that we are going to look at. So you have the upper phase, that is 66 and above. So at this point you have low economic activities because the age has caught up with you. If it's in terms of employment, you have been retrenched or you have retired from the employment. Even it's in terms of business, you are no longer very active in business, even if you continue doing that business, and it means that profit margins have gone down. In terms of economic health, you develop low immunity, and this will raise the level of consumption, and this actually raises your expense. You have low social activities, so it means your expenses have gone up and your income, because of low economic activities, have gone down. So if you had not prepared for this financial phase, you start being a burden to either your children or to the government, and you become a financially dependent person. But if you made the right decision at the middle phase, that's between income, investment, savings, and consumption, then you will be able to achieve financial independence. So we want to at least to be able to make the right decisions at this right time, so that when we reach this phase, we'll be able to depend on ourselves. We'll be financially independent people. So I have come up with 4 planning tools that are able to assist us to achieve this. Number 1, we'll talk about pension. We'll also talk about savings. We'll also talk about assets building. And lastly, we'll talk about business. So let's look deep into each and every one of these tools. So the tools are just 4, but they are not limited. There are many, but I chose the major 4. The other thing is that you'll always realize it's always good to have a diverse tools. Don't just depend on one and say I have a pension, so I'll not look to any other tools. I always say have a cocktail of 2 or more tools, so that we are able to achieve the financial independence. So let's start with pension contribution. For those in employment, we are lucky, because this kind of forced savings that the government does to us. So from your salary, you are deducted 5% at least. That's at the minimum made. 5% of your salary goes into pension contribution. And then the important and the most critical thing that always assists us in this is that your employer will match another 5% of what you have contributed towards pension. So in short, you'll be saving 10%. The good thing about this is at your retirement age, you'll be able to receive a lump sum, and then the rest you'll be able to achieve per month. So when you get these payments, at least they will assist you to be able to fulfill those expenses in the future or when you are old. The other important part is that there are people who says that they don't want to be employed forever. Maybe you are looking at employment as a stepping stone. Maybe you want to work for 5 years, 10 years, then venture into your own business, have your own assets or capital base also. So this one will assist you in a way that once you decide to quit employment before retirement age, you should be able to receive 100% of your contribution. So let's say if you are deducted 300,000, at that point you quit employment, you will be able to receive 300,000 plus 50% of what your employer had contributed. So because your employer matches equivalent of what you have contributed, if for example have been able to contribute 300,000 at my retirement, at the time I quit job, I'll be able to receive 450,000, and I think that's a good figure that can be able either to start a business or build a capital base. For us who are in business, we can do what we call self or voluntary contribution, where NSSF requires to self-register and contribute 200 shillings every month. The good thing about this money is that 200 is on the minimum and you can push your limit. This money earns an interest of 10% per year, and that means it will not be affected by inflation. I say it's not idle savings, because in idle savings you get the same money that you put in your account, but by the end of it all, the value has gone down. So I say pension contribution is the surest way towards savings. But the question is pension enough? I'll just answer that question by an experience. I've worked for financial institutions whereby I have seen employees come to the bank and seek to have a loan based on pension as the security. Then they go and invest that money at their old age, maybe mostly in real estate or to start a business. So I always feel for these people, because when you invest when you are above a retirement age, how many years do you expect maybe to be able to earn a certain profit on that savings? You don't have much more time to live compared to if you invested at the right age when you are employed. So I would say pension is not enough. It's a good tool to prepare for that, but it's not always enough. As we even contribute pension, let's look at other tools that can also be able to complement our pension. So number 2, I talk about savings, which is a bit similar to pension, but also at other point different. So savings, when I talk about savings, I will discourage savings in the current account. There are people who say, I have an account where I am deducted maybe 3,000 from my salary and it gets saved there, but it's a current account. There are two dangers with this. With current account, we can easily access that money. What does that mean? Anytime we have a need, we remember we have money somewhere, it's easily accessible to us. So we go and withdraw that money, and that means we have killed our financial goals, because we start afresh again. Number 2, that money does not earn interest. It means even if I save for 10 years and I have saved about 200,000, I will receive my 200,000 as it was. So what else has happened between those in those 10 years? What has happened is that there has been inflation. As you know, inflation is happening at a high rate, especially in Kenya and in Africa. So what happens with that? Your money loses value. So you might have saved 200,000, yes, but its value compared to when you started saving could be about 150,000. So meaning it's like you have made a loss of about 50,000. So encourage, if we want to do savings, let that money be put in a fixed account. Number 1, it will be very far away from us. We cannot be able to reach for that money when the target of when we had said we'll save up to has not reached. Number 2, that money will be able to earn interest, and that interest will be able to bridge the inflation rate. So let's if we think about savings, let that money be put in a fixed account. Number 2, I said pension is the surest way to savings. So if you're able, at that time you're employed and you don't have so many expenses, even if you're able to increase your pension amount, it's voluntary. You can say, instead of being deducted 5%, let me increase to 10%, and your employer will be able to match that money by increasing it again to 10%. You earn interest from that money, and your employer will also give you some money, and that will assist you in your old age. For those who are in business, especially for us in Juakari sector, the government has come up with a muradi called Haba, Nahaba. This is whereby you are able to self-register on NSSF, contribute 25 shillings on a daily basis. These 25 shillings, the government will be able to keep your money for the next 5 years. At a minimum of 5 years. After 5 years, you can be able to access at least 50% of that money if you have a project, and be able to earn from it. So I believe it's a good way to doing your savings and to prepare for that time. Last but not least, we have savings in SACCOs. When you want to save in SACCOs, it assists us in 3 big ways. Number 1, once you become a member of a SACCO, you are supposed to become a shareholder of that SACCO. So in short, you buy shares. These shares earn dividends. So as long as the SACCO continue to make profit, at the end of every year, you receive dividends into your account. These dividends is a passive income that will enable you to continue growing and even to foot your bills, even without any other source of income. Number 2, the good thing important about SACCO is that your savings that you have put in that SACCO will earn interest, and that means, as we had explained above, this will be able to match the inflation rate, and it means that your money will not be able to lose the value. Last but not least, in a SACCO, you can be able to seek for a loan. It becomes easier with less bureaucracy to get a loan when you are a member of a certain SACCO. What happens with loan is that it's a good way towards achieving long-term financial goals, and even sometimes towards building your business. Later on in this channel, we will be able to discuss which is the most important between a loan and a savings when you want to build your asset base, and even sometimes when you want to build your business. So make sure you continue keeping up with this channel by liking our videos and subscribing so that you'll be the first one to receive the other video when we upload in this channel. The third tool is what we call assets or asset buildings. So an asset is anything that will always appreciate in value and earn you income. At this point, it's very, very important to differentiate between assets and liabilities, because some liabilities will always look like an asset. For example, I've seen people who get into employment and immediately, even before building an asset base, go and take a car loan. So a car, when it's personal, is a liability. Why? Who will fuel the car? It's part of your salary that will go into fueling that car. You also pay from your salary by being deducted in terms of loan to pay for that car. Last but not least, if I want to dispose that car, it will have lost the value. If that car was worth 1 million, maybe when I'm selling it into the market, it's worth 700,000. So that's a liability to me. But if that car was a business car, it could have brought profits, and that one becomes an asset. A building, for example, if I want to I apply for a mortgage, and at this point I'm not despising maybe having a comfort house or so, but I'm looking at what point should you be able to have this. If I want to build my own house, I go and pick a mortgage. That one is a liability. Why? It will be paid from my salary. The upkeep to furnish this house comes from my income. I don't earn anything from that house. At that point, that's a liability to me. But someone who goes for rentals, builds rentals, and will be able to earn from these rent, now that one becomes an asset. So I will encourage you, first of all, build an asset base, so that the income now that comes from the assets can now be able to facilitate our important liabilities like house, cars, etc. So let's always be able to differentiate between assets and liabilities. In terms of assets, I say we have two very important assets with us. Number one is what I call financial assets. So financial assets will include like real estate. Like I had said, someone can be able to build rentals. Even at your old age, you still earn rent from these rentals, and you'll be able to have that money for your upkeep even when you don't have any other source of income. Another thing that you can be able to do is, maybe you have seen some people who buy lands and plots, buildings for example, and leave them to appreciate in value. So even if you don't develop them and leave them to appreciate in value at your retirement age, they'll already have appreciated in value, and even if you decide to dispose that asset, you will earn more, and that money will assist you to continue facilitating your bills. You can also venture into shares, bonds, treasury bills, but especially in terms of shares, we need to be very, very careful if we especially have to put those shares in private companies. You have to watch the growth of that company so that at last we don't lose out. The other kind of assets we have is what we call intellectual assets. Most times we neglect what we call intellectual assets. We have people who are expertise in certain areas. For instance, we have accountants who are employed just to do accounting in the industry. So if you just concentrate on your income, remember you have accounting skills. There is someone else who requires these skills outside. How are we able to translate these skills or that knowledge that you have into money? For example, you can become a consultant in that field. That's why you see people are employed as accountants, but they are part-time lecturer in certain colleges on accounting. So that's what I'm calling an intellectual asset. Apart from that, we are able maybe to upload that knowledge that we have, for example, into the social media, let's say YouTube, and earn from YouTube. So this channel will continue earning you money even at your old age. So think about that, what you do best. Someone else is looking for that knowledge. Where can you provide that knowledge and it becomes an asset to you so that you can earn from it? So I say assets are the best way towards building your financial freedom. So if you don't just have pension or savings and you don't have asset, I don't see you achieving financial freedom. This is the best way towards achieving your financial freedom, because assets will be able to bring you what we call passive income. You'll be assured of an income on a regular basis, which will be able to help you achieve that financial independence. So I'll say let's have an asset base plus another tool for financial independence. Last but not least, we have business. We have seen business empires, business that continue to operate even when their owners are very old. But some of us are operating businesses that today, if we die, God forbid, or if something happens to us like sickness, our business gets sick with us, we close the business down. That's very dangerous, because when that time comes, the business will be directly proportional to your behavior. If you can't wake up early to go to the business also cannot wake up early and hence cannot generate enough profits. So what do we need to do? We need to ensure that we have a well-organized management and a legal structure that can continue operating that business. With the management, you ensure that the business can continue even when you are not there. With the legal structure, it protects you. For example, if you register your business as a limited company, you have shares in that business. So even if the operations of that business continue in your absence, you continue earning in terms of dividends. And that's why we encourage you to continue registering the business. Let it have a well-organized management that can continue operating. Teach them the business culture so that they align to your business. Number two, ensure that you have very strong pillars that can continue operating that business. The very strong pillars for continuity and succession. One day, someone else will carry out that business on your own behalf. Ensure that you can have important succession, so that someone will succeed in that business and still continue earning from that business. So if you look into these 4 tools deeply, ensure you have, I'll always insist, ensure that the tool number 3 is part of the plan that you have. So ensure that you have an asset base plus any other tool. I know you'll be able to achieve your financial freedom. So I wish you very well as you work towards achieving it now to avoid regret in the future. Kindly continue subscribing to our channel, share to others so that they get this important knowledge, and even on our upcoming videos, so that when we build financial freedom, we'll also be able to build a healthy nation. We'll be able to build healthy families, that our children don't see us as an economic burden to them, but they'll always see us as a blessing to them. Thank you for watching. Till we see you again.